Hello, Virtuoso Travel Advisors, and welcome to a short webinar about selling the Summer Games in Paris 2024. My name is Philippe. I am with On Point Events, and for those of you who don't know us, we are a tour operator selling full packages to some of the major sporting events around the world. Everything from obviously the Summer Olympics, Winter Olympics, things like Super Bowl, the Masters, etc. So I think major sporting events and travel packages, that's what we do here at On Point Events. So this is going to be a short video or short webinar specifically focused on the Summer Games coming up in Paris. We're trying to do these webinars pre-recorded because as I'm sure you're seeing, the travel market is starting to pick back up and we want to be respectful of your time. And so like that, you can watch this webinar at your own leisure. When it's convenient for you. I have tried to include a slide at the very end of the deck covering some of the typical questions that we always get on webinars from travel advisors specifically. And hopefully that answers all of your questions. And if not, you can certainly send me an email or contact our team and we'll be happy to run through any questions for you or answer any questions for you. All right, so let's move on to the agenda really quick. I'm going to give a quick update on sort of live sporting events post-COVID and kind of what we're seeing. This is going to be a deep dive specifically into the Summer Olympics in Paris. I'm not really going to spend a whole lot of time talking about Paris. I kind of feel like Paris speaks for itself. You're obviously, I'm sure, already experts in the destination. I'm sure you sell the destination to your clients and are very familiar. So this is not going to be covering the destination of Paris necessarily, but really more so the Summer Olympics and the various different events. And of course, the travel experiences and inclusions that we're selling. So what are our packages? What do they include? What do they not include? And can they be customized, et cetera? So we'll answer all those questions. And we'll also cover some of the key questions that you should be asking clients that are interested in this event, just to kind of help qualify them. I think that's always useful. So let's talk about some quick news updates. Live events have, probably been the last to really finally start to recover in this post-COVID world. And thankfully, we're starting to see events, especially here in the US, recovering. And so by that, we're seeing, obviously right now, we've got the US Open tennis going on, and that's going on with full capacity, which we're super pleased to see. The Ryder Cup that's coming up here later in September also have announced that they're doing full capacity. And I think what we've seen with most regular season sporting events like baseball and basketball and what have you, they're also back to full capacity. There's going to be some, a few varieties in the rules in terms of what protocols that they're running, but some of them might be asking for people to wear masks. We've seen a little bit, for example, of the US Open tennis. We saw, vaccine requirements creep in. We have not seen that at the Ryder Cup. So, I think it's just one of those evolving things as we kind of come out of this pandemic, or as we go through it, I guess, that we'll just have to keep a watchful eye on. But the good news is we are trending in the right direction. And so we're obviously very hopeful that, 2022 next year is going to be a good comeback year for live sporting events. However, having said that, for clients that are still concerned or nervous about booking these types of, or this type of travel product, we are still offering a experience protection plan to clients. This is a protection plan that's available for most of our events, and it would be 100% money back guarantee on the entire package if the event organizers decide to either cancel or run the event without spectators. So that is a 10% premium that they would have to pay in order to get the experience protection plan. But again, well worth it for people that are still concerned about booking this type of travel. And these premiums are this is obviously commissionable to you as a travel advisor. So that's what we're offering there. Let's jump right into the Summer Olympics. So what is it? So Summer Olympics, it happens every 4 years, and it's rotating around the world in different locations. So in 2008, it was in Beijing. In 2012, it was in London. 2016, it was in Rio. 2020, it was in Tokyo. And of course, now with 2024, we're going to Paris. And then for those who don't know, in 2028, it is actually coming to our shores. So it's going to Los Angeles, which will be exciting. It's 18 days of competition. So there's a total of 28 different sports that are involved in the Olympics. And by sports, it'll be things like gymnastics, is a sport, obviously, swimming, BMX, road cycling, golf, basketball. Those are all individual sports. So there's 28 of them. And about 10,500 athletes from all around the world are all competing in these sports. And then depending on the sport, it might just be amateur athletes. And in other sports, there will also be like professional athletes. So for example, we see that in basketball, which I'm sure that you know that obviously the USA is very strong in. So 28 sports across 18 days, it basically culminates in about 306 different ticketed events. So that's important, and I'll get to that when we talk about the event schedule, but that does end up being sort of the focal point in our consultative process with customers about, what are they trying to accomplish when they go to the Olympics and what do they want to see. All of these sports will have medals, so gold, silver, and bronze medals awarded. And so that becomes another thing that obviously clients are going to seek out. They might want to see some of the qualifiers or preliminaries, but they're also definitely going to want to see some of the medal events. There are some new sports. So by new, sports climbing, 3-on-3 basketball, surfing, and skateboarding, those are all new events to the Olympics. They first took place here in Tokyo 2020, but the newest event that's being added that has not happened at the Olympics ever before is the sport of breaking, or like some of us might know it as break dancing, obviously an urban sport, and that is being added to Paris, to the Summer Olympics in Paris, and an event that's going to be interesting to watch. This next slide is a little busy, so I apologize for that. We're trying to put as much information as possible on here. So this is going to show where all the various different sporting events are taking place. Now, a little bit unusual and different from previous Olympics, the Olympic Committee here in France has decided to spread out some of the events. So notably, handball is all taking place up north of France. You've got some football events, both men's and women's, so to be what we call soccer in the US, that are being spread out among several different cities. You can see I'll show you here with my little pen over here in this section. So you'll see Nantes, Lyon, Nice, Bordeaux, those are all going to be hosting some of the football events. And then last but not least, sailing will be down in Marseille. And then this one's interesting. So surfing, which is a new sport, is going to be taking place in Tahiti. So that is going to complicate that a little bit in terms of clients that want to see surfing. That's quite the commitment to go all the way to Tahiti to see that, and probably not going to see a whole lot else as a result. But everything else, all the other sports are all happening either central in Paris or in the immediate suburbs around it. I want to highlight a couple that I think are going to be just fantastic, right? So they are building some temporary venue structures to support the Olympics in 2024. One that's notable is the equestrian. All the equestrian events are going to be taking place at the Versailles Palace. So literally on the lawn of Versailles Palace. I think the backdrop of that is just going to be gorgeous. And the same thing with beach volleyball. That's going to be taking place in a temporary structure put right next to the Eiffel Tower. So for those of you who are familiar with Paris, that's just going to be such an iconic backdrop. And I think something fun for clients to think about as they choose what events they want to go to. So let's take a look at the schedule. Now, I want to highlight that this is a draft schedule, so it's definitely subject to change, but for the most part, we'll probably follow this sort of timing and format, and that's very traditional in sort of previous games. So you've got the opening and closing ceremonies that are taking place, obviously, the opening ceremony is taking place on the 26th, and then the closing is taking place on the 11th. And then you see all the other sports and obviously the disciplines within those sports taking place going down on this left-hand column. Couple of things to note. I know this slide is also somewhat busy, but like for example, with swimming, right? So swimming, you see it's taking place from the 27th all the way through to the 4th. There are typically 2 swimming sessions per day, so each of them are going to be separately ticketed. So it could be that the first one is typically a preliminary round, and then the second session, typically in the afternoon, would be the medal round. So when people say, well, I want to see swimming, it's like, that's great. And then we've sort of got to peel the layers back a little bit and say, well, what specific session do you want to go to? And every session, obviously, there'll be different things happening in each session. So it could be, in the case of swimming, it could be a backstroke session. It could be, medley. It could be something. So those are all things that we look at in the consultative process with the client to figure out what it is that they want to see and what's going to fit with their itinerary. A common theme and / issue that we sometimes see is that people will say, well, we want to see swimming and we also want to see track and field, which is another popular event. But obviously, as you can see from this schedule, track and field doesn't start until the 2nd. So there's a little bit of an overlap with swimming, but not much. So depending on what they want to see for track and field, that may drive some decisions around when they want to be in Paris. So, but I just wanted to show you this event schedule because this is really where we focus a lot of our attention in the sales process with the customer to really drill down on what events do they want to see so that we can determine when is the right time for them to be in Paris so that they can maximize the events that are available. So I started off by telling you that we are a tour operator. So that means we are selling full packages, obviously commissionable to you as a travel advisor. These packages are going to consist of everything from a VIP airport meet and greet, airport transportation, hotel, breakfast at the hotel, event tickets, private half-day tour, etc. And they're fully customizable. So, it's very rare that we see one package be exactly the same as someone else's because everybody wants to see something different. Clients might want to add on additional tours. They might want to add in private transportation to get them back and forth to the different events. So those things are all customizable and things that we can work with them on. So start a little bit about ticket categories. So the ticket categories are fairly broad. At the Summer Olympics, they typically come in category A, B, C, D, and then even sometimes E. So D and E or C and D, C, D, and E are typically what we would call entry-level tickets. And so they're typically going to be at the upper sort of ends of the stadium or the venue. And then category B is typically going to be upper level, but along the sidelines or along the sides of the venue. And then category A, which is considered the most premium seating, is typically going to be sidelines, but lower level. But it could also be upper level. So it just depends on the venue. We do have, for the most discerning clients, we've created a category that we call premium category A, and that's going to be sidelines, but guaranteed lower level. We have that not for all events, but for most events. So it's something that you can always ask for, or that we will suggest during the sales process. To give you an idea on pricing, so pricing is definitely going to be driven by what hotel category they choose, luxury versus deluxe, and of course with how many events, which events, and what category of ticket for those events that they want to go and see, and of course any sort of additional extras that they might throw in, private tours, side destinations, etc. But our starting price point for Paris 2024 is going to be that $99.45 per person, 6-night stay. So we are running 3 separate 6-night stays across the 18 days of competition, and so that's kind of where it starts. And then just again, like I said, depending on what tickets they want, they want to include, what category and how many, that's going to start driving that price. So I'll talk about the hotels here next. Starting at sort of the higher level, our luxury option is the Royal Monceau, which some of you may be very familiar with. It's a Raffles property, extremely well located. Super happy to have this property that we can offer our customers. And here we have both deluxe rooms as well as a couple of different suite categories to choose from. At the deluxe level, we have a couple that are sort of still under work. So this is going to be more like in the AC Marriott, Renaissance, Intercontinental, Hyatt type range. So we're still in early on here in negotiations with properties on our room blocks. So this is going to be somewhat subject to change. And we'll sort of announce that as we go along here over the next few months. We are offering a variety of different tours. So again, I don't want to make this into a Paris destination session, but I'm sure you're familiar with some of all the amazing things to go and see in Paris. So we'll have cultural tours, we'll have gourmet, like culinary type tours that we can include, night tours, garden tours, etc. So these are all things that clients can add into their travel experience with us for Paris 2024. So what about qualifying clients? How do I qualify someone for the Summer Olympics? A good qualifying question to ask your customers, the customers that are interested, is have you ever been to the Summer Olympics? And if so, which Summer Olympics was it? Because if it's a long time ago, like even Beijing in 2008, a lot of things have changed, a lot of sports have changed. And so that'll give you somewhat of an idea. And the pricing is also obviously going to be different than it was in 2008. Another great qualifying question to kind of start the conversation is to find out what are they most interested in seeing. Like every client has, their must-haves, right? We have to see swimming finals, or we have to see athletics, and specifically, the fastest man, which is the 100-meter final. So that every client comes to the table typically with things that they have to see and other things that are just nice to see. And then there's also clients that are just open to sort of more just the Olympic experience. And so they might be seeking out some of the newer sports that I mentioned earlier. And so that's all part of that conversation to kind of help drive, what are the right 6 nights for them, and what are we going to put into that itinerary. Asking them what is their overall budget is a good place to start. Trying to get an idea for, what are they looking to spend for this. And I'll highlight here, I think I mentioned on the earlier slide, the entry price of the starting price is right at that 10,000 per person price point. But it is not uncommon for us, for the Olympics, to see a package for 2 people. By the time they add in all these premium events and lots of tickets and private transportation, it is not uncommon for us to see these price points get to 70,000 or 120,000 for 2 people. So that is something that we see a lot for Summer Olympics. Again, the cost drivers are going to be what hotel category they choose, how many, which events, or what bespoke tours they include, transportation, etc. All right, let's try to hit on some typical questions that you might have or that you might be thinking of. So obviously, do we work with travel advisors? Absolutely. That's why we're making this webinar. So we typically work on a 10% commission basis with advisors. Some agencies prefer to work with us on a net basis, so we can do that too. Yeah, just let us know. How does the booking process typically work? So I think I mentioned, that draft schedule is really a great place to start, because our process is very consultative. Generally speaking, people, clients come to us and say, we want to go to the Olympics. Great. So we've got to really start honing in on what's important to them. What do they want to see? And so using that schedule is really a great conversation piece to start honing in on what's important to them, which will then get down to, understanding their budget and what they're trying to accomplish. So another question is, are you going to be offering other hotel properties in Paris? The short answer is yes. I mean, what are we now? We're in September of 2021. So we got, a good 3-year stretch to go here. So we're probably going to be adding some more. We're contemplating adding 1 or 2 properties sort of in the economy level of our program. So that might be something that we'll be adding in. Obviously, you saw we're still in negotiations with some of the deluxe hotels, and then there's potentially also another luxury hotel that we're going to add into our program. So stay tuned. We will certainly keep you updated on that. Do you only sell full travel packages, or can we buy tickets from you? So we only sell travel packages. We don't sell tickets by themselves, not just for the Olympics, but for all the events that we cover. We're just in the business of selling the travel packages. But they are fully customizable, so customers don't have to take all the various different components, but it is going to be a base package for all events that we offer. What deposit do you require, and what is the payment schedule? So typically the deposit required for these Paris 2024 packages is going to be a 25% deposit at the outset. And then we have 3 individual payments after that, where the last payment is due. I believe it's like 3 months or 4 months before. Yeah, I think it's 3 months before the start of the Olympics. So it is going to be spread out over time. What if the Olympics are postponed and canceled? I mean, that's obviously a question that some people's minds, given what we saw with Tokyo and running up to that. This is where we, definitely, it's hard to speculate on, on whether or not we will see something similar in 2024. We hope not, but this is something where we highly recommend to all travelers for them to consider and take out travel insurance. That's something that we've been very successful with our clients. And something that we highly recommend people consider, when they're making this type of investment for this type of travel product. I think those are probably typically the key questions that we get. If I've missed anything, please reach out, send me an email, reach out to our team. We're here to help. Really appreciate Virtuoso, really appreciate all of your time today. And thanks for watching.